Hmm. So I just got a message from Duke Energy saying that there was a power outage in my area and it might impact me. So if I suddenly disappear, that's why. Yeah, that's weird. I'm obviously fine so far, but
So far, yeah.
suddenly disappear. That's
Here we go. Two. I think we're good. Okay. Do one last sweep of the event because usually someone very last minute says, "Hey, send me the Zoom link." And I think we got everybody. Okay. Good evening and welcome. My name is Tony Brewer, and along with Joan Hawkins and Kyle Kloss, I'm a producer of this, the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series. We're based in Bloomington, Indiana, and this had been for about 3.5 years live event here in Bloomington, Indiana, but we have been virtual for the past year and some. And we thank you for joining us. We are sponsored in part by the Indiana Arts Commission, the Bloomington Arts Commission, and the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association. The Writers Guild at Bloomington wishes to acknowledge and honor the indigenous communities native to this region and recognize that Indiana University and the city of Bloomington were built on indigenous homelands and resources. We recognize the Miami, Delaware, Potawatomi, and Shawnee people as past, present, and future caretakers of this land. We've got a spectacular lineup for you this evening. We've got three poets, Ken Yoshikawa, and joining us from the Southern Fried Poetry Slam organizers, Grand Poobahs, both of them, I believe, Dr. Adam Hinsey and Sarita Sincere Goods. And also joining us from the deep in the woods of the Pacific Northwest, Travis Puntarelli, who will thrill us with some songcraft a little later on. I've got a couple of things that I wanted to mention first, a couple of announcements to bring up. Third Sunday Write is our virtual writing workshop. Third Sunday Write is currently a virtual place to find writing prompts and the company of other writers. Members visit the private Facebook page a private Facebook page to respond to prompts that are posted up monthly. You can write and post anytime during the month and offer a response to others' writing by sharing a readback line, a line from their piece in the comments. Third Sunday did meet at the Monroe County Library on the third Sunday of the month in the Great Before. We will continue as a virtual entity for the foreseeable future. For more information or to join the group, contact Shauna Ritter at shauna747@gmail.com. And please include third Sunday in your subject line. Also wanted to mention the Writers Guild kind of goes dark a little bit in terms of our regular business meeting. So we are taking a couple of months off. We're not going to meet, have a business meeting until Saturday, August 28th. So be sure and mark that on your calendar. Saturday, August 28th at 3 p.m. That is a Zoom meeting, and contact the Guild for the link. All of this information and much more is available on our website, which is www.Writers Guild Bloomington, all one word, writersguildbloomington.com. You can also like us or follow us on all of your favorite social med platforms where we tweet, we gram, we've got a face. You can also sign up for our newsletter by visiting the website. Once again, Writers Guild Bloomington, all one word.com. And Joan Hawkins, co-producer of the series, does a fantastic job of putting together, of curating a newsletter that's informative, not only for what we're doing, what the Guild does, but what's happening in Bloomington and in Indiana and really the nation. As once things locked down last year, we really tried to push a lot of information about what is happening in the literary world. Free things too, not just what we're doing, or things that require tickets and whatnot. Before we get to our performers this evening, I wanted to turn the microphone over to a couple of our guests, Dr. Hensbo, Dr. Hensey, and Sarita Sincere Goods, if you folks wanted to unmute yourselves and talk a little bit about Southern Fried Poetry Slam, which is coming up next week.
Tony, I want you to know you never have to call me doctor, because you have been at IU longer than some departments combined. So I want to thank Tony and the Writers Guild for having us out. I'm a member of the Writers Guild. I work in Bloomington and live in Indianapolis. And I'm also a employee of Southern Fried. We are the oldest, longest running poetry slam international festival in the world. This is our 29th year. It's our 29th year. And so Tony was very, very kind, and we've been meeting in person except for last year, and then we're having a virtual festival this year. So things are, like the Writers Guild, very different, and we're promoting our first virtual festival. So Tony was super kind and invited us to say some things. Sarita, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about Southern Fried. Our virtual festival is going to be the 8th through the 12th. Yeah, is that?
The 8th through the 12th. We added a day. No, it's the 8th. 8th through the 12th. Yes.
Yeah. And we are going to have a bunch of stuff online, but we are asking people to become members of Southern Fried, where you get all of our content for all the course stuff. And that's just $20 a year. And then you will support a multicultural arts community. And that's basically it. We're going to have Tony just participated in a haiku death match by another organization. Yes, was that yesterday? Was that 2 days ago? 2 days ago. And we're going to have that event again at Southern Fried. We're going to have a nerd slam. We have an erotica open mic, and some other cool, fun workshops. And we're going to have the best poets in the world duking it out. So come check us out. southernfriedpoetryslam.com.
And I just wanted to add that he's hyping up our tournament, which is our crown jewel every year. But I also wanted to remind people that Southern Fried, we used to be, please forgive my children in the background. We used to be just this little, 1 week in June festival. And now we are a full-fledged 501c3 nonprofit organization that is providing programming 12 months out of the year. And we are expanding so that we are not just focusing on competition poetry, but we're also focusing on improving the person as a whole. So workshops on mental health and safety, writing workshops, but also financial literacy, things that artists can use in their everyday life. So if you haven't checked us out, he gave you the website. I am currently, just a minute, mommy is working. I am currently serving as a president of the board of directors, but I've been attending Southern Fried for my first one was in Atlanta 2011. I've been doing poetry for 20 years now, and I've been a mom for 4.5. So I got the poetry thing down, parenting, still working it out. But thank you so much for having us, and we're looking forward to having a great night tonight.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much. Thanks to Sarita Goods and Adam Hinsey. Dr. Hensbo, I think I think you've got probably another 2 months left, Adam, before I will feel comfortable just calling you Adam again. So you should just write that out. I'm going to be calling you doctor here for a little while longer. But it won't last. It's okay. So I think let us start off with a little bit of music from our good friend Travis Pontarelli, the balladeer extraordinaire, longtime Bloomington resident, but he is now steeped in the woods somewhere in Oregon. Travis, please take it away.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me on. Sincere, I got that 4-year-old in the back too, and they're occupied with the movie right now, so hopefully this is gonna work. They don't usually get the movies, but we got the movies going right now, so we'll see how long it lasts. So this is a song from a new album that I'm doing. The album's coming out in like 3 days, so I've been thinking about it a lot. But this one's based on Herman Melville writing a book that no one read. for a long time until he was old. And about the weird force of poetry. Nothing like time to fool you. Nothing like wine. Nothing like rhyme to fit where you need it. Dull as it is, yet strange and shapely. Having a fit, yet cool and calm. Buried this morning, died this evening. All the while being born, my wit. You think of her as comely, casual. She'll cut you thrice before you knew. Once on your thumb, once on your temple, once on your chin. I've had a few. My wit. All I have is sailor stories. These are free for you to use. To the goddess from which it comes, my soul, my muse, my wit. Here I sleep in lonely cages. Back at home they pull me down. Feel my spirit starved for ages. Flying over the frozen ground is my wit. If all is bone and blood and sinew, if all is rot and rust and red, if all is dark and death's within you, bright and bold and blessed is my wit. Thanks. Just tune this up here. It's getting real hot. All right, gonna do one more here, I suppose, and to kick it off, start with a couple sad ones, and we'll come around someday. So this is a new song. It came out this winter, this cold, dark, and strange winter. It's a song from the future. Not far in the future, probably. I'm just an old man, wait on my daughter, sunglass and spray tan in the AC. I had a dartboard, I had a carport, I had a girlfriend and a motorcycle. I could ride it anywhere. I'm just an old man, way watching the water, wristwatch and Ray-Ban in the AC. I was a salesman, paid for the wedding. Life wasn't hard on me, but still isn't easy. I'm just an old man, wait on my daughter. I tried to tell her she don't understand. We used to go out and get together. We'd go to restaurants and talk to people we had never even met, not even on the internet. But that was long ago. Thanks, friends. I hope you're all still out there. It's hard to know.
We can still hear you. We can still see you. You get a little choppy here and there.
Mhm.
Excuse me, a little choppy sometimes, but man, you sound great when it's nice and clear. It's nice and clear. So we will come back to Travis a little bit later. He'll give us a longer set a little bit later on. Yeah, it was fantastic. Always love hearing your work, man. So let us have our first reader for this evening. Let me get my notes here. Ken Yoshikawa. Ken Yoshikawa is a half Japanese, third culture American poet, actor, playwright from Portland, Oregon. In his theater career, he's appeared at Artist Repertory Theater, Portland Center Stage, Northwest Children's Theater, Oregon Adventure Theater, and the Portland Playhouse. In 2019, he released his first spoken word album, Quiver, and performed his autobiographical poetic solo play, The Art of Fly Swatting, at the Pan Asian Repertory off-Broadway in New York City. His poems have appeared in Nailed Magazine, Letters from the Void, Hapa Mag, and Discover Nyeki. His first full-length poetry book, Monster Colored Glasses, is out now on Lightship Press at yoshikawaken.com. Please welcome Ken Yoshikawa.
Hi, hello, out in the world. I'm Ken. You see him pronouns. Thank you to Discover Nikkei in LA. Just want to for that shout out too. I got some poems for you, and I have a book. And thank you to Hiromi who brought me in here. And I'm really excited to read for you. So this is my book, Monster Colored Glasses, and I'm going to be reading from it mostly today. And I'm also an actor, as my bio said, and so it's going to be, some of this is kind of performative, so let's just have fun, right? All right. There is a turtle ferrying a box. Inside the box is a bank run by small gods. The turtle swims back and forth across an ocean. It lands on a beach. People come to the beach and place their treasure beside other people's treasure, knowing the treasure will be forgotten, knowing it is what they love, but also what they must protect. Some have placed their photographs, their daggers. There are rain clouds and lucky pennies. There is a fiddle cradling a mug of tea. Some people even place themselves into the box, curled in the seeds of a pomegranate, but not their gold. The turtle says, "This box is bigger than the ocean, but I cannot carry gold. I will become too small, and something big out here will eat me. You must carry your own gold. You must carry your own gold." All right, and I think my second poem I got for you, and I think this will tie up the rest of my time, is, so this is a bilingual poem. I'm a bilingual poet. I speak Japanese and English. There's a few words that you ought to know about this poem. First of all, this poem is in absolute solidarity with the Free Palestine, and this is an anti-imperialist poem because the U.S., Japan too, and Israel, heavily imperialist organizations, nations, and so this is a nerdy bilingual poem in opposition of all that. And the words that you ought to know is the word obake, which means monster, gaijin, which means foreigner. And the third one, which I always forget what the heck it is when I have to say this in the beginning, which I'll probably remember after I read it. That's welcome to my brain. Okay, so obake is ghost, monster. Yes. Okie dokie. That's right. I remember it's a kappa, and the kappa is a turtle demon that lives by the river, and it lures children out to the river and like eats them and stuff. And it's a really vile thing. Or if the idea is that they find it like a lost child who will either guide them home or like devour them if they answer questions. The way to defeat a kappa is you bow to it, and it'll bow back, and the little pool of water in its head pours out, and it has to go back into the water. So, pro tip. Okie dokie. This is how to speak obake. Warui. Kimi. Ore. Nigai. Kusai. Uzai. かなり煙ばっかりだな、この漢字の秘密の鬼読み方。あなたのバカのバーケツの中身は何ですか？バーカ、あいつ、こいつ、起立、キモい、で、おはようございます。大バカお化けの小僧がさ、すぐコロコロカッパになった。雷キャンディー、噛みながら、カラカラコワゴワ、心を閉じた。あららららららららららら。Bad. It's gotta be bad where you be, ghetto. I mean, you gotta be bad, ghetto. No. You gotta have been bad too. Gotta catch fire to eat it and keep it. もう決めて、きれいに切れて、くれて、調子がいいな。Can you kill me with air? With distance? Ignore how this hungry hand fits the back of your head. Did you know that your eyes can leave your body, that I can whack them right out of their sockets, watch them scram under the bed while if your bed is on the ground? Can I eat them? It's dangerous out there. Keep 4 island curses from the rising sun in your back pocket. Konoyaro! I know you just love this shit, right? Oh, baka ga omae! I know you can get your check mark off of this one. Kutabare kono impo. I know. And then you got to stick that right into the fulcrum. I got to make me feel each tidbit. Got to really believe it. Kutabare kono impo. And so, gotta make me feel each tidbit, gotta really believe it. You don't need to understand it, just say it with me. Hakujin janai, hakujin janai, nihonjin janai, ninjin janai, chimamire hanjin ippon dake, chimamire hanju ippon dake. I know you know the casual racism of good people. Admit it. You don't even have to hide it. Just give in, because that's not how you speak obake, human. So I know this woman, she don't got no face. And even she looks both ways before joining you in bed. I know this girl who lives in a well, just wants a little hug and to kill you, but you really didn't give her much of a choice. And I know this dude with a brown skin and brown familia, and he's really quite sweet. I don't know why you keep throwing him at me. I can't feed him. You know, you got to see there's a difference between not having a reflection in the mirror and not wanting to look at it. It takes one to know one. And you are not like us. See them? We made them. Their hair pouring out like ink on a brick wall. You break them and send them right in our direction. And we keen to give them another chance, show them how to feed themselves in your unforgiving world. But that's not how this is supposed to work, is it? A classroom should never have a hospital or a graveyard. But all we are to you is bits and pieces for your adventure, huh? You gotta turn the page. Farming the limbs of my family for golden experience. I mean, the very fact that we exist somewhere in this world, you just can't take it, can you? So you got to come into my cave, my home, and take whatever it is you lost in my blood. Is this it? Is this where you can finally see yourself? How too few will never not be gaijin in America. It takes one to know one, and you are so like us. Did you really think you were the only ones living in between? Did you really think you'd be released from not belonging? Once it has you, there's no stake in the heart can kill it, only stories and dark forests. There are demons in the mountain stones. Yamao noru yami. And even they know you don't own the rock you stand on, but fine, if you have to know, tell them that their house is haunted and pull down your eyelids together. got your tongue, meh, tell them they're different, that you don't know them, and don't bow back. Dishonor them by walking through their house with muddy shoes. And yet, in the end, that's not how you speak Obake, human. All you have to do is say that you're hungry. Thank you. I had to check the book a couple times.
That was wonderful. That was amazing. Excuse me, Ken Yoshikawa, and we'll be hearing from more from him in a little bit. Let me now bring up Sarita Sincere Goods. Sarita is a excuse me. Sarita is a dedicated and hardworking wife and mother of two. She currently resides near Charleston, South Carolina, which is where she is originally from. Sarita has been involved in poetry for 20 years, starting with local open mics in Greenville, South Carolina, before getting into slam. She has participated with and coached different Southern Fried Poetry Slam teams over the years and discovered her love for nurturing the person while helping develop their craft. Additionally, she is part of the New Danger Arts Collective and has facilitated workshops and performed at schools across South Carolina. Please welcome Sarita Sincere Goods.
Hi, everybody. First of all, wow. There's this running joke with poetry where someone does some amazing writing and you're like, I want to go next. That's how I feel right now. Thank you for that work. I got goosebumps. So like he said, I have been doing poetry for 20 years now. Started at local open mics in Greenville, South Carolina when I was a student at Furman University and have just worked my way up. So I'm going to do 2 poems for my first set, and then I'll see you guys in a little bit. Yeah, so it's been a while. I might stumble, I might stutter, but y'all stay with me and we'll get through to the other side. So I've heard all about it. How dream chasing is useless, that in this rat race no one wins, that although I write these lines and recite these rhymes, it will never be more than just a hobby. That is poetry, nothing more. Nothing to change the world with, nothing to make thought processes shift, nothing to illustrate the fallacies of society or the hypocrisy of a minority content to abuse the majority, too caught up in capitalistic warfare for those to see whose name brand reigns supreme. But this is only poetry, right? It's nothing to write home about for the man or woman that sends tingles up your spine. No need to use vivid descriptions to tell just how their kiss intoxicates you like wine. Pointless to try and explain how your heart beats faster at the mention of their name, or how they have made all of the previous bullshit you endured fade into nothing. And you constantly are appreciative of the day that they came along, because poetry won't tell that story. Poetry doesn't talk about why men lie or women lie, why racism still runs rampant, sometimes in whispers, but here lately louder in everyday life. It doesn't address the religious blame game and scapegoating, or why we have to argue about basic human rights. Poetry is just some silly fascination with words, they say. A way to hog a spotlight and the stage, overlooking that because of poetry, many, many lives have been saved. Because when I felt I was alone, I learned I was not. When I thought no one understood, someone else got it. When I needed to say what my heart couldn't bear to speak, someone's poetry did. And my poetry is that for someone else, who's ready to give up on whatever it is they're dealing with, whose voice is too small to be heard, whose power has been silenced, whose self-worth needs uplifting, whose thoughts are jumbled and just need to be translated and unscrambled. For all of that, there is poetry. And so I chase this dream, make it my life, breathe into it and exhale my thoughts, nurture my pen so that when it flows, it grows stronger with each stroke. Force feeding these emotions so listeners have to chew it up and swallow or choke. Because poetry doesn't always finesse you. Sometimes it comes hard as hell and shoves you out of where you were so you can get to where you are. Open your eyes to see further so that you can recognize where you need to be. All this, but it's just poetry, right? Thank you. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it going, right? I'm gonna tell y'all a quick story, right? So a couple of years ago, I got married to this guy. He's a poet. And then he was like, well, we're married now. We ain't got to do no poems. So I went behind the scenes organizing. I don't perform much anymore. And my good friend Hinsbo was like, hey, you're a poet. You're running a poetry organization. You should perform some poems. So here I am. So here we go. And because people always, poo-poo on poetry a lot, this is for them. Poetry doesn't have a face. It has a purpose. Beautifully wrapped in sometimes ugly life, tucked into vessels of varying shapes and sizes, breathed into different voices. Once lifeless words, broken hearts, and damaging experiences resurrected into perfectly flawed messiahs, sacrificing their pride and ego to be judged, hoping that one or two may be inspired. See light in the dark that surrounds them. Take a single step forward rather than remain stagnant. It's not my place to say what a poet should look like, what a poet should sound like, how a poet should put together their thoughts, or what the measure of poetic greatness should be, because poetry doesn't have a face. It has a purpose. Challenging thoughts and encouraging expression, sharing healing and providing direction, straightening crooked lies and unraveling confused truths, provoking outrage and inciting, promoting peace while still fighting to leave listeners with just a little bit more than when they came. Offering up our mistakes as examples and ways to learn, turning the taboo into something that can be talked about, bringing to the forefront those painful things that we try to hide, because purpose is often the same as meaning that poets have a duty to be more than hip hop gone wrong, be more than the stereotypical starving artist trying to mentally feed the masses but going hungry every day. This life work sometimes doesn't pay in dollars and cents, but yeah, common sense used to be more common. But when you start assigning places, making labels and tags, handing out masks to hide real faces, poetry becomes what it was never meant to be. A dollar chase and sideshow, street fighting and backbiting for bigger platforms when your thoughts and ideas are still only so-so. Pulpit stage preaching on grown man, grown woman status, but the first to temper tantrum, name call, fingers point, and gossip. Today, you're a militant community activist, and tomorrow you're not. Looking for folks to be your supporters, but you act like you forgot that once upon a time you spoke for a reason. You spoke for a cause, and each man, woman, poet governs their own laws of poetry. And by having so many faces, poetry essentially has none. And one of my poems, many of my poems speak my struggle, and maybe that spark of life for just one. And one contribution to change may be the start of a revolution. So my art, my life, my heart is what I give. And you give yours the way you're moved to, because poetry doesn't have a face. It has a purpose, and I can't tell you. You have to know what your poetic purpose is. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sincere. That was wonderful. You still got it. What kind of break? You didn't take any kind of break. That was great. That was wonderful. And again, we'll be hearing more from Sincere a little later on. Get back to my notes again and bring up our third poet of the evening, Dr. Adam Henze. It's in his bio, so I'm legally obligated. Dr. Adam Henze is a researcher, educator, and spoken word artist, and has shared his work in over 30 states, as well as Puerto Rico, Canada, England, Ireland, and the United Arab Emirates. He is co-director of Slam Camp, a summer writing academy for teenage poets, and founding director of Power of a Sentence, a prison literacy program in Indiana. Adam received his PhD from the Literacy, Culture, and Language Education Department at Indiana University and works as a research associate at the Indiana Institute on Disability and Community. His research interests include critical media literacy, youth literacies, Prison Pedagogy and Inquiry Methodology. Adam currently serves as Director of Programming for Southern Fried Poetry Incorporated, which hosts the longest running annual poetry slam in the world. He is a bureau speaker for Indiana Humanities and was the official poet of the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. Please give a warm welcome to Adam Henze.
Thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate you humoring me. And partly is because, you know, when I was young and wanted to like become a doctor, I thought that people would care. But, you know, now after I defended my dissertation in my kitchen over Zoom with a shaved head and, you know, different pants than what my suit jacket suggested, you know, we now live in an era where like half the country doesn't care about, you know, nurses or doctors or military people or something. So I have to get my promotions in when I can. I did want to say this is like my 8th or 9th hour on Zoom today. It's been a very long day, and a couple of my friends during that time have pulled me aside, and all of them have been moms and have been like, I'm trying to keep my stuff together, or my kids ruining my life and my artist life. And I want to say no, because all of us are really trying to like hold it together. So I want to give a shout out to all the mamas out there who are creating art and doing Zoom content despite their littles trying to destroy everything around them. So that's it. And I wanted to focus on a couple other moms on my mind before the broadcast got started. Joan was asking me about my time in the Indiana Women's Prison. Usually I teach a writing workshop in the Indiana Women's Prison. I've not been there since the start of COVID, but I wanted to share a couple poems about my experiences there for my first set. And then I'm going to switch it up later on. And then I want to say thanks to the Writers Guild folk for having me here, and especially the chance to perform with my friend Sarita. And then I'm really excited to perform with Travis and Ken, because you guys are dope. So this is called The Circle. This is about writing and stigma when you're an incarcerated person. Tonight, Hella reads a poem to the son she's accused of killing, and Amora says she wishes she could become that brave. I say, let's start with where this poem is successful. Not to overshare, Emma says. That's the type of writing makes your butthole pucker. Yuriko disagrees with Audre Lorde. She says poetry has to be a luxury when you only get to sip it once a week with your commissary Pepsi. Once, 2 students were kicked out of the course for humping each other on a stolen tarp in the chapel staircase. COs combed through every poem, wondering where they learned that at. Each class, I shake every hand because maybe I sound like the last man who reprimanded them. Not to sound scary, I wince, but Mrs. C says she'll shut us down if you're in the hall without the pass. Raven escaped from prison once and worries she doesn't have any stories good enough to share. In the circle, sometimes you start crying and you stumble over a line. I made you a painting, Electra says, pointing at the hues out the window. She shakes her head at the power lines like, why? Oh, why? Oh, why? Something man-made. Gotta fuck with my sky. So this next poem takes a different perspective about thinking about stigma in literacy education in prison. And this refers to the way that volunteers and educators are prepared, both for professional development and volunteer training to teach in that situation. This is called hostage scenarios. When you train to teach in a maximum security prison, you're invited to concoct hostage scenarios. Imagine a dictionary stripped of its spine. Imagine that spine sharpened to a shiv. Imagine that shiv pressed against your ribs. Manifest a massive standoff in your mind of shouting and sirens and you pleading just to live. The key is to make a picture that exhausts all the possibilities that a pencil can be broken and poking against your throat, that a book could be repurposed to bludgeon your skull, that you may be captured, made to swap spaces and clothes so the SWAT thinks you are your students, something to shoot. This is why you start every session asking your class to tell you who they are. I'm a mirror of my mother. I'm a reflection of my crime. I never thought myself a student, but now I'm running out of time. I am here to learn to make weapons with my words. And you say, maybe our words don't need to be weapons. Maybe this pen is the taste of greasy cheeseburger juice dripping down your chin. This pen is a blown kiss captured in your daughter's chubby hand. This pen is a crooning jukebox and a pair of hands placed on your hips. This pen is not a weapon. This pen is a violin. Now the paper is a concert space. There's an instrument in your hand. Imagine all the possibilities and play all the notes you can. This pen is where we're going. It is not where we've been. This pen is not a weapon. This pen is a pen. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Adam. Always a pleasure to hear you. So let us now have a musical interlude from our guest there in the woods, Travis Puntarelli. Travis, are you there? There he is.
I'm here, Tony. I'm here.
Fantastic.
Just plugging the kids into pistachios.
yeah.
They have pistachios. We're held. All right, everybody. I'm so stunned and astounded to hear poetry again. I mean, from other people. It's weird out here in the woods writing things down in my RV, but there's real people out there doing fantastic stuff. And you all are amazing and brilliant. I'm super glad to be on computers with you right now. We'll start off with a little tune. This is called the Ways of the Fascist, if I can remember it. And it goes like this. Ways of the fascist. Tell you 'cause I know. It starts with the classes. It ends with the overthrow. We're deep in the trenches, brothers. We're over our heads. Saddle your guards if you've got them. The question, my friend, is when. The ways of the fascist. I tell you 'cause it's true. It starts with the best of intentions. It ends when you call it for what it is made of. A way to avoid the blame. Saddle your guards if you've got them. Let's give it a name. How do I know a fascist when I see one? It will smile, it will sigh, it will dress like you dress, she will talk like you talk, it might even look you straight in the eye. And when you ask a fascist for a light, they'll give it to you gladly, brother. And when you ask a fascist to do what's right, he might hesitate. might let on that he knows it's wrong, though he knows it's wrong. Might not hesitate at all, accustomed as he is with that invincible fascist refrain, which I will teach to you all now. It goes like this. All right, Eddie, you know this song. Oh, it's out of our hands. 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 Bum, 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 bum. It's out of our hands. Ooh, it's out of our hands. It's out of our hands. So there we go. I'm sure you've all heard that one before. It's a pretty common song back in the day, and still now. What was I thinking about? Oh, we used to do that. Used to go down into the jail in Bloomington for a little while. We did blues music with the fellows down there for a bit in the recovery block. And we got to the Lasses one day, the girls group, but they only let that happen one time and not no more. I don't know. We ended up not doing it after a while, but hey, more pistachios. So we'll just take the lid off and allow the crumbs to get everywhere. Here you go, dude. I have a couple of these. And the next song that we're gonna do is about children. Thanks for thinking of mamas there, Doctor. They're good people. So this is another winter song about children. This one in particular. It's been a slow year, opposite of me. The big one calls me mama, the little one calls me Trav. I spend all day following them around, picking up the things that they put on the ground. There's piss and food, peas and cardboard from the trash, black-eyed Susans, all my credit cards and cash. I'll be moving, but I won't be moving fast behind the toddling kind. It's been a slow year, I apologize if I drop the ball again. I've been chasing little guys. The big one wears my sweaters, the small one wears my hat. I used to be somebody, but now I'm dad. Oh, clean your room, wipe that cheese off of your chin and close the door. There's a wicked bitter wind. I'll be sleeping, but I won't be sleeping in. That's fine, my toddling kind. And then there's a solo where like you're picking things up and picking things up and picking things up, and it goes like this. Let's go dancing. Let's not ever go to bed. Make me something. Let's eat only cheese and bread. I want candy. I want all the things that I can find. The toddling kind. Wow, cardboard has them very distracted. Thank God for cardboard. What would we do without that? Just like little pieces of it. Pieces of hard paper. I don't even know. Yeah, you'll sing with me? All right, so on Sunday we had a birthday party for a good friend of ours, and I'm living out in a hippie commune deep in the woods out here. It's not really a hippie commune, but it really is a hippie commune, if that makes any sense. So we had a party, and we were in the middle of singing, like Beatles songs. We got all the gear out, and it was the first party we've had in ages, and we got the gear out, and we're like doing Beatles songs and hip and stuff. And then someone was like, play Nirvana, so we started singing Nirvana and Weezer and everything else that yells and screams. And as a result, I can't hit all the high notes today, but I think that's probably best. So here's my scratchy voice. This is a strange song that I had that came out of a dream, and I'm never sure why. But here it is anyway. Percussionist in the background. One it was a dream I had, lying on the bathroom floor, waiting for the world to stop. I was taking off my clothes. Underneath them there were more. Under every sock, a sock. I awoke, then went to bed with a castle on my head, full of trumpeters and clowns, making noise to raise the dead. And the dead arose, oh, and the dead arrived, and the dead arrived with their pinions all aglow. They want to know, oh, are you all right? And are you coming back to Africa? Africa. Oh. One more. I don't know, I'll get you in a second. Hold on, we got 2 more verses. You take my money, you take my clothes. I don't need them anymore. I come looking for myself. I am scared, but I will go. Like a thief before the law, all the stolen names I know. I'm just coming back for more. Sister Molly lights the lamp, and the lamp will light the road. And I wish I had been there when the dead arose. Oh, when the dead arrived, and the dead arrived with their pinions all aglow. They want to know, oh, are you all right? And are you coming back to Africa? Okay. Right on. Well, thanks y'all for having me. I'm gonna do just one more here, and unless the time's good, are we good? I'm happy to cool it. Tony saying one or good?
Let's return to our poets, and we'll have you come back for a last one. How about that? Cool. You sound great. You're still there. Like it gets a little choppy here and there, but man, it's when it's on, it's on. It sounds really good. Plus, yeah, I love your backup group there. Is like your backup singer is, 20 feet from stardom, as they say. Oh, there we go. Oh, you can spotlight that. A little bit. Yeah.
Do you want to say anything? You talk? Say hi. Say hi, Tony. What do you got? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right. As advertised, let us return now to our poets. I believe first up in this round is Sincere, Sarita Goods.
Thank you for sharing the spotlight again. That song about picking up after the kids, that's my new favorite song. That's everyday life. I understand that one. For my second set, I'm gonna go back to my early poetry days. I did a lot of writing about relationships because I was in a very not healthy one in my younger years in life. And I realized that I learned a lot of things about myself, and I wrote a lot of relationship poems. So I'm going to share two of them with you now. The first one is the Angry I'm Tired of You poem. And the second one is I'm in Love Again Now poem. So for some people, you expect people to do you expect people to treat you a certain way when you're in a relationship, right? And these expectations are not always realistic. For me in particular, I'm generally very nice all of the time. I just, I try to be understanding. Life is hard and people struggle. And then I realized that for this particular gentleman that I was dealing with, the more I was nice to him, the more I gave him leeway, the more he was taking advantage. And then I got angry. So this one is called All Hail the Queen. Patience is a virtue. It's all I used to pray for, not realizing that patience, like strength, is built up through struggle. Tempered with hard times, you see, growth comes by going through. And I've realized that patience can be abused, just like kindness, and often mistaken for weakness. Open arms reciprocated with turned backs and snide remarks, encouragement met with doubts, warm understanding met with cold distance. I tried to be an angel, your angel. But just know that when I take off my halo and tuck away my wings, slide on my robe and don my crown, there is no turning back. That I will no longer accept your excuses. My desire to be compassionate will fade. I don't want to know the reasons why, nor will I care. Because first impressions are deemed to be do-overs. Second chances are never valued, and people bank on an automatic third. But this account is now empty and overdrawn. I chose to close up shop, hold on to my heart, and wrap myself in my queenly dignity before the angel in me tries to save you. You see, there's no crying in baseball and no salvation for love's sinners. Sympathy is for suckers, so I've removed that role from my repertoire. Let me get back up on my pedestal, settle back into my throne. You see, that's what I get for seeing potential in these paupers, for forgetting that Icarus got greedy and that is why he fell, for hoping that maybe Atlas would put down the world to lift me up instead. But trust and believe, I've learned that love is not always enough. That wanting something for you is not the same as you wanting it for yourself. That people don't do better because they know better. People do better because nothing else will be tolerated. So fine then, kiss my feet, pay my bills, throw roses where I walk. Let me give you my butt to kiss, because you see, I'll be the queen and you can be my slave. Let me tear out your heart, feed your heart to the pigs, because this is Sparta. And love is not love, it's war. And you see, angels, they want to protect you, nurture you, love you. Angels want to save you, and you need to be saved. You just don't want to be. So I won't. You can try to save yourself. Stay right where you are, and I'll go back to where I should have been all along, because even the prodigal son had to wake up and go home. So no, I no longer have time for the needy, no sympathy for the insecure, no pity for the downtrodden, no desire to love you where you're at. Slay my dragons and prove your worth. Pay my father his dowry and prove your willingness to invest. You can build my castle and prove that I deserve only the best. You can risk your life and prove that you will fight for my happiness, because angel though I have been, though I am, will always be, people only seem to respect me when I'm queen. And I don't want to be feared. I just wanted to be loved. I didn't want to be intimidating. I just want to be loved. I don't want to be your superior. I just want to be loved. I didn't want anything unreasonable from you. I just wanted to be loved. But if you won't willingly do it for the angel, it will be that much harder to prove your love to the queen. But since you wanted it this way, request granted. Just remember, the cost of failure is eternal loneliness and regret, and I can promise you that no one wants to live like that. Thank you. So after a long time of unfortunate life decisions, I left that dude alone permanently. Go me. And the way life happens is that, then you meet somebody else when you're not really looking for somebody else. And then all of a sudden you're happy again and you're like, wow, love is magical. And when I'm happy, I sing. So that was all hail the queen. She don't care about nobody. She looking out for herself. And now I'm happy. And we okay? Are we okay? Okay, just want to make sure when things fall down, you got to check and see if they're okay. So this one is called Meet Me on the Moon. And for my music lovers out there, I am a huge Phyllis Hyman fan, God rest her soul. And this is one of my favorite songs. Meet me on the moon soon as you can, in the middle of the sky, you and I, riding on a cloud, soft as you please. We will sail upon the breeze to the everlasting moment of love. Oh, I feel your symphony, or rather your poetry. The way your spirit does things to me, and not only does it speak to me, but it sings to me, takes the strings of my heart and plays the perfect melody. One that makes me walk around humming, wake up smiling from my dreams, wanting to stay awake forever so I don't miss a single second of this bliss. So darling, meet me on the moon. You see, this love is too big to be limited within the span of a simple hug. Having previously been confined to being down here on the ground by boys masquerading as men content to never spread their wings, claiming to be angels that have fallen, but instead their pitchforks and horns haven't grown in. No, you may not. No, you may not. But instead their pitchforks and horns haven't grown in, wanting to shackle me into being their ball and chain. No, ma'am. Never wanting me to know what it feels like, stop, baby, to be on cloud nine. They would much rather sell me a dream that is theirs and not mine, and with no compromise, it can't even be ours. So inevitably, they left me behind. But you see, this love that we have, it frees me. Okay, thank you. Opens me up so that I can finally breathe deeply, fearlessly believing in your words when you say that you'll never leave me, because after so many pretenders, love pickpockets and marauders, your main concern is to make sure that my heart is not in danger of growing harder. Bound and determined to make up for all the lies, all the aches and pains, every tear that I've ever cried. So when I ask you to meet me on the moon, you do. Then sprinkle stardust in my hair so it matches the twinkle in my eyes, that smile that shines from the inside. Because that's what a beautiful love song will do. A poem that plays and echoes within my soul. It's that feeling you get when the perfect poetic prescription is prescribed, no ma'am, according to Soul Scribe. And if you ask me, we can go in a minute. And if you ask me, she ain't never lied. Because with you, I feel high and my feelings can take flight, and I don't ever have to worry about having to fight. Go ahead. To make you stay because you choose to. Don't have to worry about our future because you don't want to repeat that history that you're used to. And when it comes to you and me, there is no giving up because I simply refuse to. Go back to where I was, doing what I was doing, running from the mere possibility of being in love. Especially when I don't just hear your symphony, but I can feel it. Taking all the broken pieces of my heart, your love has healed it. And you meet me on the moon, bless you. And together we soar past both of our wildest dreams, bless you, of what we thought love could be, getting it so good that when I think of me, myself, and I is envying me because of the love that you give me, but me envies I because I have you, and myself is busy thinking that this is the kind of love you know to hold on to. So again, meet me on the moon soon as you can, in the middle of the sky, you and I, riding on a cloud, soft as you please. We will sail upon the breeze to the everlasting moment of love, because I feel your symphony. Thank you.
Woo! That was wonderful. That was amazing. That was an amazing display of agility and wordsmithing. I got to say, we're all impressed out here. I got to tell you, that was wonderful, really. and the singing too, everything, just wonderful. Thank you so much, Sincere. I believe next up is our good friend, Dr. Hensbo.
So I want to clarify that, like, in our tech rehearsal, both of the parent performers were like apologetic and stuff. But at this point, I now feel sad that I don't have a little to help me with my performance. And now I'm like, I have no progeny. No one will mourn me when I die. So, now you all have the upper hand, parents. That was so good. Thank you so much for that. I wanted to do something a little bit different. One thing that I've been, because we're like almost out of quarantine, but like not really, hence we're on Zoom right now. So one thing that I've been doing lately is I have joined Tony's enthusiasm for typewriters. I've collected several typewriters in the last month, and there's a couple reasons. One is I'm so over being online, and it's just a good way to digital detox, and it's a way to work on the mechanics of writing and not necessarily the content of writing, and that's really something that's positive to me right now. But the second is that, like, I really miss Tony and Joan and Kyle, and I see you in the chat, Eric and Hiromi. I miss my Bloomington crew, so I've been thinking about you guys. So I wanted to share some writing for my dissertation. I was very lucky enough to get to interview Tony and some other people who do poetry on demand. So those of you who are familiar with the Writers Guild, often we compose poems with people using typewriters in a public space. And obviously we can't really do that during the pandemic. And Tony just had his first poetry on demand show in like a year and a half, I think. So I'm really, really happy about that. So the last Writers Guild event, I got to share a chapter on poetry on demand, and I want to share a different one. And so this is about a concept called Sonder, and I'll share a couple poems with that. And I was really thinking about the magic of poetry on demand and composing poems with people in public. And really, when you are part of a college town and you see the busyness of different events, it's so interesting as a writer to like step into someone's shoes. And I heard about this concept with this artist who created this thing called the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. And he creates these like made up words for emotions that are more complex than, just happy, sad, glad. And so one emotion he came up with is Sonder, and this is his definition of it. The realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid, as complex as your own, populated with the ambitions, friends, routines, worries, and inherited craziness, an epic story that continues invisibly around you like an anthill sprawling deep underground, with elaborate passageways to thousands of other lives that you'll never knew existed, in which you might appear only once as an extra sipping coffee in the background, as a blur of traffic passing on the highway, as a lighted window at dusk. And that's what you get to kind of do in poetry on demand. People like come up to you and they're like ask you to write poems about their like relative who died or about their dog that they love, and you kind of have to like step into their shoes in this kind of Sonder like way. And I actually had a story that goes along with this, so I'm going to share a quick story and then a poem, and then I'll share a second poem after that. So this is for my dissertation. One day, a young man approached our poetry on demand tent and asked me if I would write a breakup poem for his girlfriend. I have gotten requests like this before. Someone is not happy with their current circumstances and asked me to write a scathing narrative peppered with a litter of quips and cuss words. No, he explained to me. This was different. They both just graduated, each earning undergraduate degrees last week, and were taking job offers in different states. They loved each other, but not enough to deviate from their dreams. He had stopped by the arts festival on the way to helping her pack the last of her belongings. I pulled out my journal and started asking questions about their life together. My method here was to search for tropes to construct the poem around. Well, in rhetoric, tropes are figures of speech with unexpected twist in the meaning of words. Common tropes in poetry include metaphor, simile, and onomatopoeia. As I interviewed the young man, I wrote the images and sounds he mentioned, and I thought about ways to twist them into a trope. He told me they shared their first kiss on campus, a space sanctioned by tradition where my own parents kissed years ago. The two lovers were both ambitious, hardworking people, but they would often stop all the business to share a cup of coffee together at a little boutique. He said her favorite word was sonder, and he asked me if I knew what it means. Suddenly, I had a trope for the poem. I wrote a poem called Sonder about ephemeral love that is both precious and precarious. I changed the woman's name to April here, a name for a month of poetry and new beginnings. The poem reads, April. We floated on fleeting moments, two passersby living vividly, finding bliss in the meaning of a kiss at midnight, at Rosewell, lips whispering, I love you, a first fluttering utterance. We were both bundles of dreams, different direction, same stream, with brief stops in a coffee shop, sipping hot chocolate and lattes. I found that Sonder has a slurping sound sometimes. A life of winding roads, dinners, tailgates, this ode. When you pack your bags tomorrow, there will be no guilt, no love lost, no feelings of obscure sorrow. April, thanks for the fleeting moment of time, for the nights, for being the love of my life at one time. So I shared this with this guy, and he like cried and like hugged me and like took a picture and was like, I can't wait to read this to her. I'm gonna like message you and let you know how it goes. And then I never heard from him again. And if you can ask Tony or Joan or other people who've participated in Poetry on Demand, I know that they've also had very powerful interactions like that that are just like cut away briefly. And it brings me back to this guy, John Koenig, who has this dictionary of obscure sorrows, and he talks about Sonder a little bit, and in a video he explains it, and he writes about his project of finding words for emotions that are hard to touch, which I really think is the work of a poet. He said, about halfway through this project, I defined Sonder, the idea that we all think of ourselves as the main character and everyone else is just extras. But in reality, we're all the main character, and you yourself are an extra in someone else's story. And so as soon as I published that, I got a lot of responses from people saying, thank you for giving voice to something I felt all my life, but there was no word for that. So it made them feel less alone. That's the power of words, to make us feel less alone. So, I wanted to bring that up because, that's true for both the people we write poems for, but it's also true for the poet too. Like, I have felt much more alone not being able to be next to Tony and Joan and Hiromi and my friends writing poems with them. So I've just been thinking about you guys recently. I've been thinking about this idea of Sonder, and I've been stepping in your shoes and thinking about how much I miss you. So I just wanted to share that. And so I'm going to share one last story and poem about I previously wrote a breakup poem for someone, and then around the same time someone approached my booth and said, I'm getting married later today, can you write a poem for me to like share with the bridal party and with my bride? And I was like, I guess so. So here's the story, and it'll end with a poem. So thank you again, Writers Guild, for having me. So I was still thinking about the Sonder poem a few weeks later when I was sitting with a typewriter at a different festival in the same college town. When you're a poet, it's hard not to carry the baggage of extras who have unexpectedly become main characters in your life. All poems about loss linger a little longer than poems about pirate cats. What new burdens would I help shoulder that day? A man approached our booth and wanted to know what this typewriter thing was all about. When I told him about POD, he told me that he was getting married later that day. Could I possibly write a poem that he could read to his bride? I took out my journal and listened to the man's story of meeting his fiancée. He told me they had a long distance relationship and that she was honest and loving and caring. Well, I challenged him to push past these abstractions and speak in concrete terms. We needed a strong image, vivid enough to capture the energy of the moment. I learned that he is a cyclist and she is a ballet dancer. He said he fell in love with her while sitting in the audience and watching her dance on stage. He told me that the biggest impact she had on him is teaching him to think about his carbon footprint. Now he recycles and upcycles and eats more sustainably. I wrote the word footprint in my journal. I had our trope. When he left, I began to write a poem about two people learning a dance delicately together on a shared earth. There's always a moment in the POD composition process when I switch from a writing to a draft with a pen in my journal to typing the final product on the typewriter. It's during this transfer between scratched notes and sculpted poem that I play with the schemes of the piece. And rhetoric schemes are figures of speech that deal with word order, syntax, letters, and sounds, rather than meaning of words. Alliteration and anaphora are both popular schemes that commonly occur as patterns in poems. For 20 minutes, I shuffled the sounds of words in hopes of sculpting a poem as decadent as a wedding cake. When the man returned, I read the poem that was commissioned for his bride. This is called Slippers for April on her wedding day. Takes strength to do the delicate dance. I learned to love you while watching in the audience. Your determined footwork said you would stay stepping. I knew I wanted to take movement with you. I have lived my life in cycles of not seeing you, late night texts and booking plane tickets just to encircle your space, see your ballet slippers settled in the dinner chair. When we dance tonight, April, I won't let my feet shuffle. I want to step delicately, live lightly with you, and leave the least footprint. And when the day is done, we'll kick our souls to the corner and fit our feet in comfy slippers and stare at the window, wondering where our future steps may lead us. So I handed the man the poem, and he held it like the paper had suddenly become more expensive or delicate. For one sonorous moment, we as strangers shared our bold story worth telling. We took a photo on my smartphone. We stood shoulder to shoulder, smiling, and he held the poem in his hand. He promised me that he'd reach out to me to tell me what his partner thought of the poem. And then he walked away, and I never heard from him again. Thanks, y'all.
Go. Thank you, Adam. And I miss you too. I miss all my Poetry on Demand folks. And as I said in the chat, seeing you post about your newfound love of typewriters as well as your newfound typewriters, it definitely gets me in the feels. I did have a very good experience doing my first Back to It in-person Poetry on Demand gig a couple of weeks ago in Indianapolis. And I made 3 poems, and one person did not come back for theirs, if you can imagine. Such a thing is actually pretty common. I actually have a little packet of poems from over the years, just labeled the poems left behind. All the poems that people didn't come back for, not just written by me, but written by other people that have done it with me. Anyway, thanks so much, Adam. And we'll have a closing poem from Adam here in a moment. Let us now hear from Ken Yoshikawa. Would you please step up?
Hey, all right. Everyone's throwing down such beautiful poetry. Thank you so much, everybody. So I'm going to read a breakup poem, which is the perfect thing to follow such a lovely marriage poem. So I didn't just, this was something I planned. So anyways, I also want to make sure that if y'all, can you hear this? If someone can just in the chat. Can you hear this? Oh yeah. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, great. Nice. So, okay. This is called A Letter from the Monster Picking at His Scars. Draft 1. Draft 2. There is an entire melody to how we both hate me. It starts with a lie and a pretty trickle in a key that has no luck, right out of the purest kind of love, and how we watch it shamble now, knowing what it once was. We have 2 pieces of rhyming starlight. Even now, isn't that just the most awful thing? Watching how I cleave my arm off at the shoulder, thinking how it has your name on it. Is there room in a piano for a bone saw? Draft 3. The flowers are so beautiful this time of year. There's tiny life in the soil, and I can't seem to eat it as it is. Have you tried? They're growing all around me. Think of me. Yes, think of me. And I'll tell you what music looks like from under the ground. It's not a threat. It's in my nature. Remember, you have a name for it. Look me in the eyes and say how failing makes me science fiction. We wrapped our book with its own pages and buried it. Remember, it was our parting gift. Draft 4. From the beginning, in our crow's nest, we were moths to the lighthouse. Please tell me what it was like to love the Kraken, having carved our names into that tower, to see it storm after quiet storm erode into an edifice of salt. Don't you know, there is only one reason to scuttle a frigate, to ensure in turn it can't be turned against you, to drown the maps, the gold and the bells and the guns. Please tell me, how could the monster suck your soul when it was too afraid to open its mouth? Draft 5. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I know this world has been unkind to you. And yes, I did abandon you. I admit it. And I'm sorry that I let the walls of your fear come tumbling in at the speed of panic. I wasn't going to hold your hand again, but I have to tell you, there is nothing more dangerous than stuffing someone into an angel-shaped hole. You may only get a demon. Look at these teeth. I don't know anything more human than to sow curses where love once laid. Draft 6. This is what happens when your eyes are made of mirrors, when words get stuck between 2 panes and ricochet their own infinity, believing my love is no better than a trap to protect the world from. And who knows if it really was the case, and all that time since was actually meant to heal me and not a spell you cast to laugh me into the sideshow. I guess I can say that I got the message loud and clear. I wonder if you still blame me. When you met me, I was already living with 1 foot on a landmine. Draft 7. When I take off my monster-colored glasses, I see such faces frayed by fear that need the gentlest kinds of care. Sometimes years and a microscope. But if it sounds like see you later, that's fine, even if it is a lie. Or if it sounds like silence, that is fair as well. But you must acknowledge your own darkness, lest you only ever laugh alone, wreck every island you discover, blame every weakness you encounter. Do you still blame me? I know it's no business of mine, but we were once the best of friends. I'd hate to see you wear the frames forever. Draft 8. If it's any consolation, you made me the happiest person I've ever been by teaching me to say goodbye, that walking away from your tears and your circles, when I walked down the stairs, opened the door and closed it behind me, I took in the cleanest breath of air, could listen to my delicate crystals float into the sky. That is the meaning of instinct, of trust. That I loved myself enough to become everything you were afraid of, a part of the world beyond you. Draft 9. Dear someone I've left for good, it's okay now. Sincerely, the monster, a man, me. Cool. Gotta let it right. Sorry. All right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, so and now I got 2 poems. So I'm gonna read one of the last poems in this book, and then I'm gonna read a new poem, and then I'm gonna close this out. 2 short poems. So Quiver. For the moonlight in our palm lines, a library of star signs, a chamber full of salt remembers each kindness, while true faults make maps for lost pilots who forgot how to stop, not to hear and respond, but to listen and bond, that there's less at the top, but more in the silence. Take good note and file it, but more than just save it, to savor the feedback as lilacs to ley lines aligned by the facts, hold back what reacts. When loss becomes labor, charm demons with violets to vapor. No matter what happens, remember there's still air here. Even if it's breathing, the physics remains the same in any language. Yume mi yumi ya, aijou yokeru na, kyou no kagami no game no gaman yori kuki no amasa ni awase. 破ってもよろしい。君が十分。見ろ。山の横にある200個の雲紙。あの優しい嵐あるこの悲しみ洗うため。So let it. I'm talking in my sleep because my heart speaks Japanese and I believe in you. Like I believe in gravity, which means I don't understand, but I know you're there to watch my step, though I may still fall, but your soft eyes accelerate, no problem at all, and I wake right next to you with the quiver full of moonlight and my gratitude. Arigatai. Good morning. All right. Okay, so that was my book, Mashi Color Glasses. Yay. So this is new shit. Ready to roll. Happy Pride. Pride started as a riot. We have nothing but our Black, trans, and queer ancestors to thank for this month and for fucking liberation. Thank you so much. Anyway, so this is my queer poem. In the morning, a lightless and pure morning, the abyss runs its hands along its endless belly beneath the endless gown it put on before slipping into what is now still a sleepless night. The abyss is still getting into bed, and it has already gotten up to pour an ocean into itself. There are whole sections of itself crawling with sharp-eyed survivors among the currents and the fog and the tall grasses and the trees and the mountains therein. Its nebula hand runs along further and touches all its own inhabitants with loving night. And if there were hymns to sing the abyss to sleep, the animals would all raise their heads, but all everything does is just keep living. The abyss wraps itself in a new dress, and all of a sudden, here comes, it has found more of itself. So long forgotten, it too had forgotten. It has its own name now. It hums a slow hum. The other carries a few sunsets as but a first gift. Somehow they stumble through their very long names. Names so long they pause at intervals to take turns, to be considerate. Names so complete and so long that once they'd finished saying them, the abyss remembers itself and finally falls asleep. Thank you so much.
That's really wonderful, Ken. Thanks so much. Really spellbinding performances. Thank you. So what we are going to do now is all three of our poets are going to come back and give us sort of a parting poem. Each one of them is going to do a final parting poem, and then we'll have Travis back to give us a final song, and that will close us out for the evening. So I am going to give you the order, and I'm not going to come back and introduce them since we're just kind of doing one poem a piece. But this final order will be Adam, and then Ken, and then Sarita. So let us, for our final lightning round, bring up Dr. Hensbo.
Thank you again to my friends. I miss you so much. I'm once again going to break the rules because in addition to me getting into typewriters, I have been writing long form for a long time, and now I need haiku in my life. So that's like the speed where I've been going, and that's been really nice because I've been both reading and writing haiku, which is it gives me just a chance to like go outside and read 3 sentences and then think about it all day. And I think that that's just a different literacy process that I need right now. So I'm going to share a couple haiku, and then I'm going to share a haibun, and then that will be my time. So here we go. Searching for roses, I decide to stop and sniff the dandelions. Bookstore window, yellow bird with broken neck. FM radio fades to soft static. Circling hawks. Tiny spider rethreads her web after the storm. Bedroom pillow covered in pen marks. Smudged ink on cheek. All right, and here's my last one. This is a haibun. So if you're not familiar, a haibun is a mix of travel prose with haiku interspersed within it. And I wrote this about my own mental health during grad school. And I will say a good friend of mine who intervened with my mental health was Tony Brewer. I'm very thoughtful, or very thankful for the way Tony called me in. And I wrote this around the same time. I was very much struggling with the pressures of writing intensely, the pressures of grad school. And this poem is kind of a reflection of where I come, but hopefully you heard my pretty haiku that I wrote, and you can sense that I'm in a better place now. But this is called Haibun from April 19th, a Tuesday. Bumblebees are back, listing between bushes outside sliding door, burly and yellow, twirling like little helicopters, dancers at daybreak. One bee more curious than others, bobbing almost robotically at my eye line. Wonder if she's the same Bumbly from previous spring I used to obsess over. Used to stare out shades, fixated. It's well documented that the government is funding development of nanotechnology. Last spring, I screamed at bees and swatted at air, swore I'd slice it open and find camera parts inside. Last spring, I told Leslie the bees were spying on me. She looked at me crazy. Pretty sure she was already thinking of leaving. Last spring, I closed the blinds and cried conspiracy. But today, the shades are pulled high. All I see are happy bees, haiku, cherry blossoms, and coral burst crab apples bloom. Stuck inside, writing. Thanks you all, and thank you, Tony and Joan. Thank you, Kyle. Love you guys.
That was really beautiful. So for my last poem is about 4.5 minutes, and it's we've been practicing playwriting, and I this is an experiment. I haven't read this one to anyone, so this is hey, so here we go. And so this is a more of a story poem, a mythic story poem about a tree in a city. Here we go. Okay, here we go. There is a beautiful and busy city where Hive exhausted daily on her people. One day, in not even the grandest plaza, worked a crew of laborers on the road, refashioning its ancient masonry for sewers or some kind of installation. Appending each the slabs and pierced beneath within the soil, two of them espied a smooth and tawny mound. What is it? Its surface hard and gleaming there, half lodged. So knocked upon it. Perhaps it was a bell, no sound, no markings, scripture, or a name. Continued excavation proved its dome that surely totaled to a sphere beneath. One pat the top of it, whose heart, thus moved, stood up, looked to the other, said, "It's hungry." There showed the flesh and urinated on it. The other immediately understood the cause and joined, subliming a grotesque display for all, as there were those who saw this strange affair. The chief was cross, contemning with a huff, but as the golden nourishment did wreathe, the object drank, so paused a key, then cracked. What came about did slither upwards quickly, but not in rage or raven, but in hope. A gentle, winding, lively appendage extended 4 feet to the firmament, and at its end unfurled but a leaf, so green that all who saw it heard it too. The note, it rang out like a crystal bab who yearned the mother's milk. And so they answered. The chief and 5 to dozen others joined. There showed the flesh and peed on it as well. It grew again and faster than before. It launched it up in all a dryad's favor. Each added leaf, another note of glory, enrapturing the traffic in its aura. The merchants near, the children walking home, and urchins, guards, a lawyer, busy seekers, and one yet greedy moneylender there that day among the first to witness birth, this tree of life in its own orchestra. Within the music heard they their own soul, Ecstatic, many to their knees by lightning, or born without a chance to see, without a choice to see themselves. Perhaps, for yes, 'tis harsh to see unclouded truth, yet in the music of the arbles, magic, sweet succor, surely guided to the love. A solar love, so simple and complete, they shared it like an unsaid vision, a kind idea planted in their eyes. It let them just exist. To halt the onslaught of scarcity and productivity that buried miseries and wounds may heal, repairing trauma-littered centuries, bequeathing each new generation's violence. Yes, there's why they called it first the crying tree. The murky evil in their hearts was plain, no cunning nor denial, only grief, for everyone did feel all's suffering, and everyone who saw its colors wept. Thereafter never were the same again. All stayed, abandoning their shallow schedules, abandoned the decorum, gone the castes. Between them, only comfort moved by action, enchanted by the need to love the tree. That's when the earth beneath began to quiver. The roots, my friend, were battling the city. Bring water, one did say, and all did move to show this living deity the care that it had shown them in their own dismay. Well drenched, it rooted deep beneath the city, so shook the buildings near where people were. In concert, all did move to evacuate, stood off, embraced to watch the toppling, together, ready for the work to come, surpassing the benevolent upheaval. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me on. Big love, thank you, and I hope you have a lovely evening.
I don't know what to say. This has been a fantastic evening for me. Thank you to Hinspo. Thank you to Ken. Your words have been just inspirational. I'm going to close it out with the most recent poem that I've written, which was January. That's the first thing I've written in like 5 years, but that's okay because I'm still a poet. And appropriately enough, this one is entitled Baby Hair. And it is a semi-ode to my children who wanted to make themselves known today. So how appropriate. This is called Baby Hair. I'm still learning to tame my afro. Most days she misbehaves, but I love her anyway. And tame isn't really the right word because she is free. Blowing in the wind, and what I mean to say is that I'm simply still learning my afro. So I praise her, embrace her kink and let her out often to play, because the words that I speak to my hair are hearkened by little ears who know no better except they want to do what mommy does, want their hair to look like daddy's. So when I grab the comb and the pick and brush and the grease, they sit and let mommy make them beautiful. Loving hands that part and braid and twist and lock, covered with satin bonnets and do-rags, actions that show that they are loved, that we must maintain their crown for their crown, that they are royalty. Blessed by God and protected by their parents, let no one touch a hair on their heads without permission, because wayward hands can carry destruction. Samson was almost felled by Delilah, but it was his crowning glory that restored him. The hands of others can bless or blaspheme, and I'm not here to play with anybody about my kids, but I digress, because I was talking about my baby's hair. Hair that has its own wave and curl, that loves headbands and hair bows or hats and cornrows. How honored am I to be entrusted with their confidence, to nurture their pride like I nurture their hair, to wash, rinse, and repeat, wash, rinse, and repeat, wash, rinse, and condition so they know who they are when they're met with resistance. There is power in their hair, just like there is power in their skin. And my purpose in this life is to make sure that no matter what, they win. And when they do, they will be ready, heads held high for all the world to see my baby's hair. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Really wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarita, Sincere Goods. And also thanks to Ken Yoshikawa, and also thanks to the inestimable Dr. Hinsbo for joining us this evening. Let's now have a closing number from Travis Puntarelli, joining us from the deep, deep, dark, dark woods up there in the Pacific Northwest. Hey, Travis.
Hey everybody, we got just one more little one here. This one goes up and heard often, particularly those ones that will eat and don't keep it together and hold on to that tree, which then just gets lost and gone. To the few of those that I've met and loved, this one goes out to them. Who does the poet pray to when everything that's true has been put to a better rhyme? Wisdom was currency, light in the dark ages. Now love like now it's just dust on a shoe. The jester's magic was in the dark of them. Wisdom was currency, light in the dark ages. Now love like the lace on his shoe. The bard with his bag and his book and his magic eats peanut butter sandwiches in the community kitchen. Fuck time and space and gold sticking fuck bones and God making everything fall into pieces. Most of all, fuck the music. That's when the bard and jester shuffle off deep by the side of the road in a ditch at the edge of the empire. Wisdom was currency, light in the dark ages. Love like Jester's staff was a stick and his magic was the dawn from the dark to the blue of the morning. Fuck time and space and gold and being so anachronistic and old. Fuck bones and God making everything fall. Thanks everybody in here tonight.
Thank you, Travis. I think we may have lost you right there at the very tail end, but that was wonderful. Everything else came through crystal clear. So, and it's wonderful to hear you again. I know you were in Bloomington not too long ago, and unfortunately I missed you while you were here, but I'm sure you'll be back at some point. This place has a way of drawing you back, I think. So thanks to Travis Puntarelli, our musical guest for this evening, and thanks again to all of our poets for joining us this evening. Sarita Sincere Goods, Dr. Adam Hensbo, and of course, Ken Yoshikawa, our three poets this evening. That's going to do it for us, folks, for this June edition of the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series. Be sure and join us in 1 month on Wednesday, July 7th, where we will feature three more amazing poets, Lisa Kwong, Michael Bauman, and Sierra Miller. joining us from, I think, let's see, Lisa is in Bloomington, Michael's in Indianapolis, and Sierra is in Chicago. We will be joined by our musical guest is vocalist Akiko Pavokla, who I believe is in Brooklyn. I think that's where she will be. So that should be a killer lineup. And I want to thank you all for joining us here tonight, either on Zoom or on Facebook Live. This program will be showing up on our YouTube channel here in a couple of days. So be sure and check it out there. Again, be sure to check out our website, writersguildbloomington.com, to get in the know and keep up to speed on everything the Guild is doing. Again, I want to thank my co-producers, Joan Hawkins and Kyle Quas, working behind the scenes. My name is Tony Brewer, and I was your host this evening. I'm going to close us out here on the Facebook, but feel free, those of you on Zoom, feel free to hang out for a moment with us on Zoom. Thanks again, folks. We will be together soon, I think in person, hopefully. Slowly but surely, things are improving to the point where we can do that in a safe and controlled manner. So I look forward to greeting you in the streets. Have a good night. Thank you.